everyone. Welcome to the Finance and Federal Grants program overview. Today I'll be talking about allowability of federal grants, specifically referring to IDEA and CTE. So we'll start with IDEA. So your IDEA federal grant money can be spent on the following: staff salaries and benefits, supplies and materials, equipment, or any other items necessary to your special education programs or pursuant to an IEP. So again, they can be used for expenditures that are reasonably necessary for providing appropriate programs, meeting the requirements of the law, and keep in mind, it has to be above and beyond what each student in your building is receiving. So specifically, if we look at some examples, let's look at computers. So the equipment is considered an excess cost or above and beyond when it's related to the unique needs of a child with a disability. It can be provided in either regular ed or another educational setting, but you can't use it to, let's say, equip all your classrooms in a school with computers. So for example, if you are wanting to buy second grade or 10th grade all new computers and there happen to be students with disabilities in those classes, you could not use your federal IDEA grant money for that, because that's something that everybody is receiving, and this has to be above and beyond. Another example would be automatic door openers. Do we need them for a child with a disability? If it is solely to bring your building into ADA compliance, then it's not allowed. All of that should be budgeted under remodeling. What about district administrators? So it is not allowable to use your IDEA funds for the fringe benefits and salaries of a district administrator, such as a school leader, assistant principal, or something like that. It can be used for your special education coordinators, but they are above and beyond your general administration staff. Bus drivers, we don't deal with a lot of buses in our district, but you could do it for salary and benefits of the driver, but only for the time the driver transports children with disabilities and whose IEPs require transportation. So if you have a student that has specialized transportation, you as a school are providing it, then you could use those funds to help pay for that driver. Clerical support, so no. The only time spent in meeting an IDEA requirements is allowed if the position is dedicated 100% to special education. So your clerical work must be documented by a PAR. So that would be allowable if you have somebody doing that. Legal expenses, absolutely not. We can't use IDEA funds to pay for any legal expenses such as due process, IEP meetings, mediation, things like that. Some other things, child find activities, absolutely. You can use those funds to help pay for that. And then another question we get a lot is equipment. So you can use it to buy equipment. However, it must again be above and beyond what your general ed students are getting. So let's say, for example, you had a child in your building who needed a changing table and nobody else did. You could use those funds to buy that equipment. That's really the requirements for your IDEA funds. Pretty straight and simple. The next program I'll go over is CTE. So there are two different guidelines for CTA funds. There are federal Perkins funds and our EIA state funds. Each one requires has a different set of requirements in terms of the actual spending and what you can and you can't spend it on. Keep in mind that Perkins has been reauthorized, so it's no longer Perkins 4, it's now Perkins 5. So any requests for those funds must now be directly tied into a needs assessment that your school is going to have to complete. Just as an FYI, on January 29th, there is a district advisory committee. In part of that meeting, we will review the new needs assessment and what the school requirements will be. It will be held at our district office from 9 to 12. So here are Perkins 4 allowable and unallowable expenditures. The state hasn't updated to your Perkins 5 at this time, so this is the most recent we have. But I don't anticipate the allowable and unallowable expenditures are going to change with Perkins 5. They'll all be the same. So these are a list of allowable expenditures under those federal Perkins funds. So you can see administration costs, communication costs, for example, curriculum development, equipment, teacher in-service or PD, stipends, program evaluation. So there's a lot of things that can be done with the federal funds. Some unallowable costs you can see here, such as maybe your advisory councils, childcare, equipment, materials not used directly to teach skills to students, food or drink, gifts, door prizes, scholarships. So there's a list of examples of things that are unallowable under the federal Perkins funds. All of this information can also be found on the federal program support site, and you can look at the more specifics when you look at the CTE page of that website. This one here is the allowable state EI funds. Again, I'm not going to go over everything that's allowed and not allowed, but you, of course, again, can go to that support site. You can download this documentation and you can look. That's the easiest thing to do because there are so many guidelines. I could do a whole 3 or 4 hours on these funds and what's allowable and what's not allowable. So if you have any questions regarding either of those two programs, please reach out directly to Laura Simmons, which is me, or Susan Howard for IDA questions. For CTE questions, you would reach out directly to me, and I'd be happy to answer any of your questions. The remaining titles and federal funds will be done in another webinar by Tracy Sweet, so that will be recorded and posted as well. I hope you all have a great day. Thank you for taking a few minutes for listening with me. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and we'll be happy to answer any of your questions.